Before we begin, please imagine the bell notification is on and you're subscribed to Huna Stories. I didn't scream when his fingers wrapped around my wrist. Staying calm has always been my first weapon. The taxi sat there, engine humming, impatient. My husband waved from the porch, all charm and bright teeth, wearing the kind of smile you give when you think the ending is already decided. The gardener's hand shook. There was dirt under his nails, and his eyes were wet with something that wasn't rain. "Please," he whispered, "don't go." I smiled back at my husband, lifted my suitcase, and slid into the back seat. The door closed with a soft, final click. I told the driver to pull away. I watched the house grow smaller in the mirror. I counted to 30. Then I asked him to stop at the corner and let me out. I walked back on foot, cut through the hedges, and slipped into the guest house like a roomer. I locked the door and stood still, breathing shallowly until my heart remembered how to be quietly. And later, a black van rolled up. When I saw what came out of it, my breath caught. The house had a way of listening. The floorboards remembered footsteps. The walls held secrets inside their plaster. From the guest house window, I could see the driveway. The gravel laid too perfectly, the roses I had pruned myself. The air smelled like gasoline and old money. The men got out first. No uniforms, no rush, sensible shoes. One carried a clipboard, another pushed a gurney down the ramp, like this was a delivery instead of a theft. My husband met them halfway, sleeves rolled up, watch removed. He shook hands the way you do when you've practiced it. I pressed my palm to the glass and watched my life being sorted into items. My phone buzzed. A message from my husband already sent. "Warning yet, love you." I turned the phone face down and listened. I didn't marry a monster. I married a man who slowly learned how to look like one. At first, he was attentive in a way that felt like safety. He remembered my coffee order, my mother's birthday, the way my shoulders tense when I lie. He loved plans, lists, control, dressed up as care. I confused precision with devotion. The warning signs were small jokes that weren't jokes, decisions made for us that always benefited him, locking doors twice, checking my location. When I asked, he kissed my forehead and say, "You worry too much." And I did worry. I just did it quietly. The gardener came with the house, a thin man with a bent back and eyes that missed nothing. He didn't speak much, but when he did, it mattered. Over time, I learned his habits, the pause before the shed, the way he hid his phone when my husband passed by, the way his jaw tightened when a certain van rolled past the gate at night. Once, while I was trimming roses, he asked if I believed people could disappear without leaving a trace. He didn't look at me when he said it. I laughed. He didn't. From the guest house, I watched the men wheel the gurney inside, empty and ready. My husband signed something. The clipboard shifted. A pen scratched across paper. That was when I understood the gift. Paris wasn't a surprise. It was an alibi. A solo trip. First-class photos posted at the gate. Smiling timestamps. My absence carefully recorded. My return conveniently delayed. The house would fall quiet. A death could be neat. They weren't planning to kill me with violence. They were going to erase me with paperwork. I had felt it weeks earlier, the sudden push to update life insurance, the casual talk about what-ifs, the way he insisted I see a doctor for stress, the new locks, the guest house stocked with supplies I never asked for. So I made my own list. Passwords, dates, names, a copy of a policy sewn into my suitcase lining, voice memos recorded at night, facts whispered and stored like evidence for a trial only I knew was coming. I didn't confront him. Confrontation is for people who still believe explanations matter. The men left in the van handed. The gurney stayed inside. The clipboard snapped shut. My husband laughed, actually laughed, and slapped one of them on the shoulder. Money changed hands. I saw the envelope. Then they were gone, and the house felt hollowed out. That's when I moved. I slipped out the back, across the lawn, and knocked once on the gardener's door. He opened it before I finished knocking. He didn't look surprised. He looked relieved. "They came early," he said. "I know," I told him. He handed me a second phone, a burner. "It's all there," he said. "Times, plates, voices. I recorded when I could." I nodded. "You did good." He shook his head. You don't know how many. I know enough. Revenge doesn't start with anger, it starts with patience. I waited until dusk, until my husband showered, until he poured himself a drink and practiced looking devastated in the mirror. I waited until he called the airline to check on my imaginary flight. Then I sent a message about weather delays. I watched his shoulders relax. I called the insurance company next, calm and polite, verified my identity, asked harmless-sounding questions, and recorded everything. I called the doctor he paid to label me unstable and left a voicemail asking for clarification about falsified notes. Then I called the police, not to accuse but to ask for help. I said I was afraid for my safety. I said my husband had made arrangements without my consent. I mentioned men, a van, a gurney, and proof. I sent files, audio, GPS logs from the gardener's phone and mine. There was silence, then movement. When the black van returned, it wasn't alone. Red and blue lights don't announce themselves with sound at first. They announce themselves by the way faces change. My husband stepped onto the porch. His hands went up too fast. He said my name like a prayer he hoped would still work. I walked out from the guest house. He stared at me like he was seeing a ghost he'd ordered and didn't expect to arrive so soon. "You?" he started. I raised my phone. "Smile," I said. "You're being documented." They took him away in front of the roses I had pruned myself. The gardener stood beside me, hand in hat, his back straighter than I'd ever seen it. The officer spoke quietly. Paperwork, again. Always paperwork. My husband didn't look at me as they put him in the car. He looked at the house, at the life he built so carefully, at the ending he got wrong. I didn't cry. Tears are for later. Later is quieter than you think. The guest house became mine. The locks were changed, the policies reversed. The doctor lost his license. The men from the van found their names appearing in places they never wanted them to be. The gardener kept his job. I learned his first name. Paris refunded the ticket. I never went. Sometimes at dusk, I sit in the garden and listen to the house learn new footsteps. Mine. I think about how close I came to becoming a story told by someone else, edited for sympathy, buried beneath flowers I'd never smell. I think about the taxi, the hand on my wrist, the choice to stay still. Justice didn't shout. It clicked into place, and every night when I locked the door once, only once, I remembered the simplest truth. He forgot. The perfect crime needs a silent victim. I was never silent.